Premier League is back with a bang, and sadly for Maresca, he now makes that 6 for 6 when it comes to new Chelsea managers not winning their opening game as our new manager. Tests don't come bigger or tougher than playing against Man City, so a lot of us had some realistic expectations as to what to expect from that game, considering the context of our pre-season and the fact that Maresca needs a lot more time to work with this squad and this team. In typical Chelsea fashion, we have some big talking points that came out from that game. So today, my friends, I'm here to discuss the 5 things we learned in our 2-0 defeat against Man City. It's the first video of this series for the new season. So my friends, show us some love. Hit that like button if you want to see more videos like this. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into things. But the first thing we've learned, Pedro Neto has given us something to look forward to. In the 58th minute, our biggest buy of this summer window currently was announced and made his debut. And to be honest, I was pretty disappointed that Neto didn't actually start the game. In terms of his stats, he completed 1 out of 2 dribbles attempted. He had 100% pass completion, completing 16 out of 16 passes. 2 key passes were made, and key passes are passes that lead towards shots, and he completed 1 out of 3 crosses. His first action in the game actually nearly led to a goal if it wasn't for some brilliant defending from Rico Lewis after Enzo Fernandez played a superb ball across goal to find him at the far post. And that action immediately showed the willingness for Neto to get towards the byline, get inside the box, be direct, offer threat, and being that outlet for the team. There was one occasion yesterday where he went on a great dribble. He showed his 2-footed ability when it comes to being his men. He was on the left flank, he cuts inside with his right foot with a nice little step over before attempting an audacious effort from outside the box. I feel like he kind of seamlessly slotted into playing that left wing role, and it was a cameo yesterday that left me wanting more. It made me feel hopeful. It made me feel like Neto can be that outlet, can be that winger we have needed now for the last few seasons down that left flank. We seem to lack athleticism and pace when Nkunku was playing the more left wing role. So when Neto came on and was introduced, he was immediately helping us, and he helped us pin Man City's defense back and force their blocks into lower positions. Yesterday, he was close to getting a goal. He was close to nearly assisting Enzo Fernandez with a great cross to the near post, which Enzo was not able to direct on goal. And he did all of this within half an hour. So imagine what Neto can bring when he starts his first game. So fingers crossed, we see him starting the game against Servette next week. So that's the first thing we learned out of the way. Now for the second thing we've learned. Raheem Sterling's future is not looking great right now. Of course, in typical fashion, drama just surrounds this club where you never expect it. And this time the drama involved Raheem Sterling. It's since come out tonight that Sterling now is demanding from the club what their position is on him. Where does his future lie? He wants clarity. And to be honest, I think that's more than justified, because yesterday we learned that he was omitted not only from the team, but the entire matchday squad quite last minute, to Sterling's dismay, as he felt like by Friday he was part of that team and would be in contention against Man City. Maresca has since come out to state that he is happy with all 30 players he currently has at his disposal, but sadly he can't keep all of them. Yesterday he announced that he omitted Raheem Sterling for tactical reasons, and that's why he never selected him. But to be honest, it doesn't make too much sense, because Sterling was being used quite religiously by Maresca throughout pre-season, and he would have offered us some reliability on the left flank as we waited for Neto, of course, to really come and take that position for himself. Naturally, Raheem Sterling is not a happy man, and I think things did not get great for him when a statement was released by people in his camp. Now, I have to give you guys some context immediately, and I think it's a bit of a shame that this scenario got overblown, because it's since been revealed that the statement we all saw was sent privately to the Daily Mail, as they made inquiries to find out why he wasn't playing, and someone on behalf of Sterling's camp offered that statement to the Daily Mail in private, And then typically the Daily Mail then released that publicly, and this then became a drama that never ever was. And sadly, this is the type of stuff that always works out against Sterling, even though he's kind of faultless and did nothing wrong in this situation. So I wanted to offer some context there. Naturally, when you're realizing very last minute that you may not have a future at this club anymore, you're going to start worrying, you're going to start panicking, you're not going to be happy. He's got a family, he's got kids. To find out last minute that you might not be here, well, who are these clubs who are making offers and moves for Sterling outside of Juventus currently? There has been interest in Saudi Arabia, but Sterling remains vigilant that he won't be going there. So now there's pressure on him to potentially find a new club to play for. But then on top of that, there is now pressure on us because we haven't been able to generate much buyers for Sterling. And now that we've signed players to replace him, it means that we're probably set to take a massive financial loss on Sterling in terms of the money we actually sell him for. Now, I think the timing of how this thing is unfolding right now isn't really ironic because, as we know, Sterling is the highest earning player at this football club, and we're still negotiating for Victor Osimhen, and he's revealed that he won't be taking a penny less if he's to leave Napoli. So I think we're all seeing this. It's Raheem Sterling's wages out, Osimhen's wages in. I guess that makes sense. For myself, I wasn't expecting Sterling to remain here forever because I did feel like we had to upgrade over him eventually, as he's been okay, but he hasn't necessarily become that talisman figure he promised to be when we first signed him from Man City. On one hand, I get that he has to go, as he had to go eventually, right? But again, on the other hand, it's a question of timing and class. We haven't afforded Sterling the timing to really safeguard his future, and we haven't moved in a classy fashion by omitting him out from nowhere from the matchday squad and not giving him any idea that this were our plans for him. And sadly, we aren't really moving with as much class as we used to do. So that's the Sterling situation out the way. And this now leads on to another serious situation, because are Chelsea fans already turning on Enzo Maresca? One of the surprising things about yesterday's game was that Chelsea fans were showing dissent towards the team, the manager, the ownerships, and everything surrounding the football club. And some may think to themselves, can the fans really be blamed? Because on one hand, it is unfair on Maresca. He's only just arrived. It's not his fault about what's happened in the past. He can only come here and work to the best of his current abilities, and he does need some grace afforded his way. There was a moment in yesterday's game where Maresca turned towards the fans in disbelief and frustration after the lack of support coming the team's way. Fans sighed and moaned at the very slow use of possession. We were progressing the ball really slow at times. The fans sung out in protest at the sale of Conor Gallagher, who's now set to sign for Atletico Madrid. The fans criticized the ownership. They sang Roman. They sang everything, and currently, match-going fans aren't content. They aren't impressed, and they're not feeling hopeful about this football club. If I could say one thing to Maresca, I would say, don't take this too personal. You're just the scapegoat for fan frustration. The real frustration is targeted towards the directors and the ownership. And I think that's pretty fair, because after they've taken over us, a club that has no debts, invested over $1 billion, bought a ton of new players for big money, you would think that after taking over a team that had come third in the league the season prior, that we'd be in a much healthier and better position 2 years later. And sadly, we're now in the third year of this project, and it does seem like a case of Groundhog Day. We're taking one step forward to go 2 steps back, and we're not able to get out of first gear. The reality is, when you're a match-going fan, you're investing not only your money, but you're investing your time. You're investing your emotion. It's a big commitment to follow a football club, the traveling costs, everything that goes into that. It's understandable that as time goes on under this current ownership, without any clear signs of success coming around the horizon, there is going to be a lot of negativity. There's going to be a lot of pessimism and cynicism. And this is why I said in my review yesterday that I think Maresca could have shown a bit of inspiration towards the fans by making a few positive changes. You know, leave Nkunku on, take Enzo off, leave Lavia on, bring on Maresca alongside Neto. Show at least that even if things are going against us, I'm a manager that will look to turn things around, make those bold decisions, and really try and do everything in my power to get us back in games. That would have been great to at least try to win the fans slightly, but at the same time, I'm not going to hold that against Maresca completely. It's his first game as our new manager, and we're playing against Man City. So it's not the best game to fully test his whole abilities as a manager. As seasons go on without any clear signs of success and progress, of course, you look back on what we used to be. And Chelsea fans that are packing the stadium over the years, they used to get passionate seeing us shithousing games. They used to get passionate when we had those big occasion games where you're playing for something, but something actually matters. Maybe we blame Mourinho for instilling this newfound mentality in all of us about winning at all costs. Those days when we used to take silverware and trophies for granted, we'd be criticizing how we played when we used to win things. It feels like it was eons ago now that we used to be that club. And the new owners promised that they will take us back to those levels and improve all the mistakes that came beforehand. And we're in the third year and we're seeing no signs of any improvements. It's understandable why a lot of fans, especially match-going fans who invest even more time than all of us, will finally start to lose some faith and some hope. And that's a pretty worrying sign to see already. So there seems like there's going to be even bigger pressure now, sadly on Maresca, to try and turn things around, because the cynicism has pre-existed Maresca's time since before he was even announced. Let's see what happens. Hopefully results come our way, and hopefully Maresca can win the fans. So that's one thing we learned. For the fourth thing we've learned is Romeo Lavia now Maresca's DM, because Lavia was very promising against Man City yesterday, and he was one of the only players on that field that could leave the field with their heads held high. He played 38 out of 39 passes, a 97% pass completion rate, one key pass, one big chance made. That was the header back to Nico Jackson. 3 out of 6 tackles won. And on top of that, he showed great composure in front of our defense. On many occasions, Man City were pressing him from different angles, trying to win that ball back and force errors and mistakes. We saw Lavia make a mistake in pre-season, but today, his confidence was on a different level. On a few occasions, he demonstrated his press resistance, his ability to drop a shoulder, that ability to receive, turn, and push the team by playing forward passes. It was a promising, brave performance that demonstrated some of the qualities Lavia has. I wouldn't say it was outstanding in the sense that this is like a life-changing performance I saw, because maybe Lavia could have progressed the ball with a bit more adventure. At times, a lot of the passes were only going sideways or being played to men out wide. That's not entirely his fault. Of course, the team's still getting used to how to play. But I would say a positive was how many times Lavia was in the right positions to, one, kickstart new attacks, and number two, the thing that impressed me the most was his defensive positioning, his defensive aptitude. How he was always marshalling that defense and in the right areas to break up counterattacks, to intercept, to hold positions to stop Man City players moving into space. I really like that. To be honest, he didn't seem too happy when he got subbed off by Maresca, and I think we've all kind of realized that was a big mistake for Maresca to take off Lavia when he was playing the game he did to move Enzo deeper, because you think to yourself, if Lavia was in that same position Enzo was in when Kovacic was running through on goal to take that shot, Lavia has a much stronger capability to disrupt that moment from happening, and maybe the outcome of the game looks a little bit different. But regardless, his first start for us at Stamford Bridge, great promise, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Lavia as this season goes on. And to end things with one of the big things we learned yesterday, is Enzo Fernandez lost in the system? Now, I had to watch this game again, and I feel like after watching the game again, maybe it softened some of my opinions on his performance yesterday. Because right now, there were good things and bad things intertwined in that performance. Now we start with the bads, and the bads wasn't necessarily criminal actions, but there were bad aspects that shows that he has to improve. Sometimes the pressing, even though he showed an urgency and willingness, didn't necessarily have the same qualities. At times he would get bypassed because he was in the wrong position. I think the other biggest bad aspect of his game was that when he's near the box, his composure, his decision making, how he sets his body up to take strikes on goal, all these things kind of vanish in the moments you need him there for, even though he gets himself in the right positions and areas. This is why I said he showed aspects he can improve upon, because at least he's showing that he knows where he has to be and what he has to do. But the good things, he did demonstrate that knack to connect the team with his long range passing. He played 5 out of 6 switch balls throughout the game. And you think to yourself, if he was playing switch balls to speedsters, to wingers who are taking advantage of his passing range, not attacking midfield players, would his passing look better because players performing better actions from receiving them? That was an interesting thing I saw. He played some great passes to kickstart moves, most notably that superb pass, one of the best passes of that game, to find Malo Gusto on the right hand side. And I know his pressing was a bit mixed, but he still showed a willingness to do something that he isn't necessarily familiar with. And I think if he didn't have Nkunku down that left hand side, maybe that wouldn't have exasperated some of the pressing issues, because at times it seemed like both Nkunku and Enzo weren't on the same wavelength. And when that's the case, obviously, Rico Lewis was having a lot of fun playing through them. So I don't think that's even all of Enzo, but I just think that was performance that shows the qualities Enzo has, but also some of the deficiencies. And I guess that's why the main question is, how do you necessarily use him to get the very best out of his position? I think that's a fair question, but what I would say is, I don't think we need an answer to this question just yet. I think we can afford to be a bit patient now. I think we can give some more time to Enzo, because there is some promise here for him to get better playing this more advanced attacking position. I wouldn't really call it a 10 position he played. You guys can see the heat maps on the screen. You're seeing that he was really in that left channel quite a lot. And now when you compare his heat maps to the rest of the midfield and even Dewsbury Hall, it does look like the heat maps will combine to show more of a midfield 3. But Enzo, of course, off the ball, had the license to have to press up front alongside Nico Jackson. But still, there was willingness there. And actually, Enzo had the most pressures throughout the entire game. He had 12 or 13 more than the next player, who was a Man City player, with his 42 or 43 pressures. So it shows that he does have energy. But personally, another reason why I think the sub was a mistake was that Enzo was clearly getting tired. When you're doing a lot of like sprints and interval running, you're gonna tire over time. And I think his challenge against Cover, when he was the last man, really demonstrated and showed the fatigue that was in his game. And currently, I don't think Enzo is necessarily the player that I think has to be ending games the full 90 minutes. I think he's someone that comes off from the 60th to 75th minute, and then you bring on that reinforcement. But maybe that's something Maresca will understand as he has more time with the squads. There was good parts and bad parts in this game yesterday. I don't think he was a complete write-off, and I don't think we need an answer yet as to whether Enzo's a flop for us or not, or whether he has a real position in this football club. I think we can give him some more time before we find out what those answers really are. So my friends, that is everything we learned in yesterday's 2-0 defeat against Man City. Share your thoughts and opinions, get involved in the conversation. What are things that you learned? What are things that you liked and did not like in that defeat yesterday? So my friends, I'm gonna catch you guys tomorrow with some more videos. Thank you all for watching. Cool.